Sukaram Jnanamurtyam Tvanvatitam Gagana Sarisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaraitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Namaste, welcome everyone. We welcome everyone to the next episode of Hindus talking about Hindumisia. And we're continuing our series on how I became a Hindu activist. And so today we're speaking with Sri Nithya Priyeshananda, and also known as Sri Priyesha or Priyesha. And Aya, if you just go ahead and just please share a short introduction, maybe your name, where you're from, and anything else you'd like to add. Thank you for being here today.
Welcome. So what do you want? You want me to say my legal name, or what is it exactly?
However you want to introduce and however you want to present yourself today is up to you.
Okay. So my name is Sri Priyeshananda. I was born in France, near Paris, in the suburbs, and I've been living for my whole life there. I was raised in a Catholic family. Basically, I've been baptized and I've been through the Catholic processes with some ceremonies and things. And back then, I believed in Jesus and God and all these things. And then at some point in my life, I went away from God and from all these things. I became basically an atheist until life got back on me. And I realized that there's something beyond and that I had to connect back. But this time I didn't want to connect back to the Catholic Church. I felt back then when I was a kid that there was something wrong with it. Like, I don't know, I felt like there was something that was missing. I don't know. And then I basically reconnected back to God with just intuitions, basically knowing that there's something beyond. And I was just asking myself questions like, well, who's owning the planet? Who's holding the strings behind the curtain? Who's controlling the planet? I was asking myself all these questions like, what else? Who am I? Why am I here on this planet? What is my purpose? What should I do? And bit by bit, I went on a spiritual path. But first, it's because I was asking myself the questions like, who's controlling the planet? So I did lots of research on the banks, on the Rothschilds, and all the elites who are controlling the planet till today. But I feel like it's changing today because the news I'm having is like there's a change in management on what's happening on the planet. So things are going to move soon. But back then, when I was doing this research, I basically became depressed because I realized how much there was evil in this planet, and this happened in 2015. And I couldn't cope up with what was happening. I was like, wow, I didn't think that humanity could be so evil. And then I became depressed for a couple of months. I went to a psychologist at this time, and she basically helped me get back on track. And then I went to work to have my mind busy doing other things than just researching. And then bit by bit, I went on the spiritual path because I was on the French website, which was called Stop Lies in French. and they had a part where it was about who's controlling the world, what's happening in the world, another part on the spiritual path. And then bit by bit, I went on the spiritual path section of this website, and then I just that's how I started my journey on spirituality. So it was basically New Age with Hinduism, with other things. But back then, I didn't know what was Hinduism. I didn't know. I was just looking for cognitions, as cognitions today. So basically, just knowledge. Who am I? What's happening? And all these things. And but then I am first encountering with Hinduism was really when I first encountered an event about the third eye, which was scheduled on the 5th of November 2017. So it was in October 2017. I was on Facebook because I had befriended
Okay,
a girl.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. We're going to
Sure.
save that. We're going to save that for later.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. Hold the suspense on that part for a bit. Okay, good. Okay. Super. So that's so far. Great. So, okay, awesome. So great. That's good. Let's, so we're going to back up. Okay, good. So so you said you grew up in the suburbs of Paris. Is that right?
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Okay. So that's quite impressive.
Well, it's just I was born there. It's not like, I don't know.
Good job. Nice work.
Some are born in Canada, some are born in India. So what? You just
yeah. Nice work being born there.
Well, I don't know what's about my karma or my past lives or whatever, but I'm feeling happy to be born there because I was born in quite a good family. My parents are lovely, and they have always loved me since I was a kid. They have always done their best to support me, to help me, and to raise me. So I've been really lucky. So I guess I must have some good karma or something.
Yeah.
And yes, but actually being born in France is not such a bad thing because it's quite a good country. It's like people are quite open-minded. I mean, open-minded. The people I'm encountering today are open-minded because also I shifted my frequencies, my vibrations, and all the things. So things have moved in my life. But I feel like France is a good land to try things. It's like there has been the century of lights in the 18th century, and there were lots of scientific experiments in France. There were lots of things. So let's say that France has been at the forefront of lots of things in the past, and still is today. For example, I just learned recently that the COVID-19 vaccines have been engineered in France, in Paris. And that's not a good thing. But lots of things have happened in France. So apparently it's a big thing. So
Right.
And there's a big pharmaceutical industry in France. So I'm feeling ashamed about that, but that's it. And but we're known for books, for lots of knowledge, for lots of things. For example, I've been living in Romania, so in the east of Eastern Europe for 1 year and a half. And when I was living there, they were always telling that they were seeing France as a light holder, or like as a light country. They were always taking France as an example because we've been leading lots of things in terms of culture, in terms of engineering, in lots of. And France is seen as also in fashion, because France is also seen as a pioneer in fashion, in health, in lots of things. So that's quite a good country, I'd say, in the overall. Yeah.
Mm. Great. Okay, so you were. So what was the name of the place where you were born?
Argenteuil.
Argenteuil. Okay.
Yes, it's in the suburbs of Paris. Yes.
Okay, great. And okay, so you what is your sort of earliest memories of your early life growing up? What is that like?
Right now, I'm seeing myself smiling in the garden when I was in a holiday with my parents when I was like 1 year old. I just saw this picture like a few days ago, so that's why I'm having this as a. I mean, it's not like I have the memory when I was back then. It's just that it's just the first picture that came into my mind when you just asked me this question. And otherwise, I just see myself being happy when I was a kid. I was doing lots of sports. I was being supported by my family. Was in living in a loving cocoon. So I was not being like afraid or anything. I was a lovely kid, just being really curious about life. I was always asking myself questions, asking my parents questions. I was always wanting to learn things, learn new things. I was also I was the first in my classrooms when I was a kid. So I was really curious. I just wanted to be the best. I wanted to be learning lots of new things. I wanted to know. Basically, I wanted to know. I was really interested in knowledge. There was one funny thing I remember when I was a kid. I don't know why I had this realization. I said when I was a kid, when I will be old, when I am old, sorry, I won't want to work. I don't know why I had this intuition, but I just didn't want to work when I was a kid because basically when I was seeing my parents, I was seeing them being unhappy whenever they were coming back from work. So basically I had associated work with suffering. So that's why I had just decided when I was a kid, okay, when, when I'm older, I won't work. So in the end, I just realized that life doesn't happen like this. And with Nityananda's teachings, I realized that work is basically sacred because work is that very word, four-letter word, where actually you get things done, and this is sacred because getting things done is really important with whatever objective, whatever goal you have in life. If you don't get work done, you get nowhere. And let's say it's important to have a working habits or at least being contributing to projects. If you're not working in a company, contributing to projects is really important. And I remember when I was growing up, so basically at the end of my teenage period, I wanted to contribute to something, but I just didn't know what. And that's when after I just went on the introspection path to know about myself. And then when I met Swamiji Nityananda, I just knew, okay, that's it. I'm going to contribute to his mission. And that's what I've been doing since for 4 years now, more than 4 years. And that's been an incredible journey, actually, because I've learned lots of things, lots of new things. I've learned marketing. I've been more, I've been better at computer science. I learned lots of things, lots of programming languages. I've learned Python. I've installed lots of apps. I've met lots of incredible people. I've learned lots of new techniques, the completion. It's been an incredible journey. I've been also able to enrich my life, the people around me, my family, my relatives, and yeah. For no reason, I would go back to the past. I mean, it's like every day is a miracle because now I'm living a peaceful life, blissful life, and with my family, it's really cool because they have understood what I'm going through, and and understood that actually what I'm doing is for the best of humanity and for the best of everyone. And they're happy to be receiving this the fruits of my research, because actually I'm always doing research. I'm doing research on people. I've been doing research on my family. Basically, they were my guinea pigs somehow, a relationship guinea pigs in the way that I was experimenting things on them. So whenever I was learning new things, I was experimenting with them to see how it's being perceived by people, how to interact with that new knowledge, and that's been an incredible journey since I'm with True Imaging. But since I was a kid, actually, basically, because I've always been experimenting with life, experimenting with people, experimenting with mostly with people. Actually, I've always been interested with relationships, because you learn lots of things when you interact with new people. I've also been with through peers when I was also afraid of people, because when you get hurt a lot by lots of people, when you want to be loving and you want to know about people, but then you get let's say wrong responses from people, this gets hard. And so at some point I went through some dark nights, we could say, but then I faced them, and now actually I'm being living a blissful life with lots of blissful people around me. It's like my life has returned a positive way. It's really amazing. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. So you good. So you went into sharing some things about Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, you mentioned.
Yes.
So, okay, good. So let's go back to earlier years of your childhood. What are the things you remember about sort of early grade school, how your life was, or how your activities, or what your living situation or your routines, your day-to-day life? What do you remember about how, the basic sort of routine and living, and the culture of your family or society or city, the sort of what sort of what kind of what sort of parts of that sort of routine day-to-day going on life do you recall about how you remember your life was?
I really recall myself asking lots of questions. Basically, that's really the main thing I would remember, because I was always curious. I want to know things. I want to learn, and I was always asking myself questions, asking my parents questions, and I wanted to learn. That's the main thing I remember. Otherwise, I remember I was happy. That's what I would say.
Great. And so then, and okay, just so you know, you don't have to answer any question if you don't want to, for any reason at all. Just say next question, please. But then I also would ask, so who were you living with? Like, what was your living situation? What was your home life like?
So I was living with my parents, my father and my mother. And I was living also with my little brother. He was born when I was 3 years and a half. And I've learned a lot with him, basically, because I've learned how to play, how to be friendly with your brother. I've also been mean to him when I was a kid, because I was not understanding sometimes. I've done harsh things on him, I remember, and I'm really sorry about that. But I mean, we completed together about this. Just I remember when I was a kid, I had this lack of tolerance, can say that?
Yes, tolerance.
That I learned through life, through time, and because when I was a kid, I was always it's like I knew things. I don't know why. It's like I knew things without knowing where it was coming from. It's like, for example, sometimes There were some adults who were saying things, and I knew, even if I was a kid, that what they were saying was wrong. I was like, this is wrong. And I wanted to correct them. And I was always getting myself into conflict because they were saying that you're a kid, you can't know, you don't know, and all these things. So it was really funny because I was like, dude, I know what you're saying. I know that what you're saying is bullshit, basically. But as I was a kid, I wasn't getting seen seriously. And that was really annoying because I was feeling like it's like I was an adult in a kid's body. It was really weird. It's like I was feeling I had the consciousness of something that was not my age or something like. And I remember even my teachers were saying like, if all the kids could be like him, that would be nice. Consciousness, and I had like a way of saying that was always inclusive. I was always loving people. I was always wanting to. For example, my first friend was a black guy. That's funny because when I was a kid, there was always lots of racism and all the things, and my first friend was black. So that was a breakthrough, I would say, this time. And then also I had another great friend who was from Arabic roots. And because actually when I was a kid, I've been raised in a city where there are like more than 40 citizenship, 40 nationalities. So I was grown up with lots of people from lots of countries. That was really cool because there was this melting pot, say. And that was really interesting because I learned from lots of background, lots of people, and I learned to be respectful, to be inclusive, to be loving, basically, and not taking things for granted, I would say.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're saying that the city where you grew up, there was a lot of different nationalities, you're saying?
Yes.
So what is the population of that place?
Well, let's say there are lots of white people, there are Arabs, there are black, there are...
Or like how many, what number of people? The number of people.
The number, sorry.
Yeah.
We're like more than 30,000.
Okay.
33,000 now, I think. Something
okay.
Like yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The place I grew up was about 16,000.
Okay.
So, okay, great. So that was there. So you had so you have just one sibling, the younger brother?
Yes, I have. I've had one sibling when I was a kid, when I was 3 years and a half, and then I got another brother, 12 years old and a half. 12 and a half years old. Yes. So took 9 years between my two brothers, but I've also learned a lot through my second brother, because when I was 12 and a half years old, basically when he was born, I was quite grown up. So I've learned how it is to raise a kid, how to be living with a baby. Of course, I wasn't doing all the daily things that my parents were doing, but I've learned how to cuddle, how to be nice with the baby, how to learn with them, how to teach them, how to have fun with them. It was really cool. Yeah. And actually, I've been really close with my little brother because we played when he was a kid, and we still play today, actually. And we have a really friendly relationship.
Great. Then, so do you all live together still, or what is?
Well, I'm still living at my parents' place because I've been traveling the world and doing lots of other things back then, and then I went to India also. I've been living at the first French at Dynamas also, which was in 2018, 2019. And so I'm still living with my parents. My brother, who's almost 25 years old, has left the home already because he's living with his girlfriend. and I'm living with my little brother, who's 15 years old now, and who's almost at the end of high school. And yeah, the atmosphere is nice, and I'm having a peaceful relationship with my family, so it's going great. Yeah.
Great. So, okay, awesome. So what was your home life like growing up? There was, so for a good chunk of the time would have been four of you, right? You and your brother and your parents?
Yes.
So what was that? Did you do a lot together as a family? Did you travel together, or did you have your own separate things you were doing, or what was that?
Well, what do you mean? Like if we're traveling in holidays or things like that?
Yeah, like general family life. What kind of things did you all do together?
Well, basically, we were going outside every weekend when we were kids. We were doing riding the bike, playing football, or soccer. Actually, we say soccer in English. In French, we say football. We were playing soccer. We were playing lots of games when we were kids. Yeah, our parents were really taking care of us, and they were making sure that we're having fun. Or yeah, every weekend, I remember when we were kids. And if we were not going outside, we were going to see our grandparents and playing with our cousins or something like that. And what I remember was really important in the family was always the lunch and dinner. I mean, all the meals. It's like in France, having dinner, having lunch, all the things are an institution. Like it's really important. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in France, it's like you have to be eating together, like the whole family together. It's really important. And yeah, I remember we were always having the lots of social relationships, social interactions. Sorry, at lunch or at dinner or at breakfast. That was really important.
Okay, great. So good. So a certain amount of that sounds familiar then. So you were, so you're doing some outdoorsy type things, and you mentioned football, soccer, and eating together. What your parents? What were they? What were they doing? What were they occupied? The occupations. What were they doing?
Well, my father was working at a company which is making war planes and also luxury planes, and he's been working at the sales side of it. So basically, he's work. I mean, he was. I mean, no, at least today he is working on the how to say. There are lots of pieces on a plane, and basically he's handling the shipping, the cost, all the making sure that the planes are receiving the right pieces in time, and that the prices are correctly cost, and making sure that all things related to pieces of planes are being handled correctly. That's what I know. And my mother, she was working as a secretary when I was a kid. But actually, I don't remember. She told me, it's just that when I was a kid, I was not realizing what my parents were really working at. And now she's working as a French teacher for immigrants, because since we have been facing the world has been facing wars in Afghanistan or in Syria, or all these places, and even actually even other places where whenever there are lots of issues in countries, well, people actually emigrate, and actually they immigrate in France a lot, and she's having students from Tibet, she's having students from Afghanistan, Africa, lots of countries from Asia. She's had a lady from Sri Lanka recently, also people from India, also not so many actually, but yeah, she's having lots of people from lots of countries, and it's really interesting because she's telling us stories from her students, and that's really interesting. That's really cool because we live like a global life actually with that kind of thing. So with the people of when I was at school, when I was a kid, there were lots of nationalities, and she's working with lots of nationalities as well, and that's really interesting.
Okay, great. So let's see. So you okay, yeah, you also said Sri Priyesha, you said that you believe you said that you were baptized. Did you say
Yes.
Catholic? So what can you tell about that early life in relation to that?
Well, basically, I didn't choose to be baptized because when I was baptized, I was a baby, so I didn't know what was happening. So it's been against my will, let's say. But we also say that actually we decide the life that we're going to be going through before we are living our life. So this means that I had decided before being born in France that I would be living this life, and being baptized the only things. So actually, I have to agree with everything I've been through. So I've been baptized. Okay. So when I was a kid, I wasn't realizing, and then right now, actually, I'm like, okay, I just how to say. It's like not that I agree, but like okay, no, I accept what happened, and that's okay. I started my journey in this life as a Catholic, and that was nice when I was a kid, and but then it changed. So I'm also happy that Hinduism opened its arms to me, and I'm happy to be Hindu now.
So is Catholicism, how popular, or even Christianity, different types of Christianity, so how popular is that in France?
Well, that's the main religion, so that's the most popular in France that you can have, because even there are lots of holidays in France which are related to Catholicism, and Christmas or what else?
Easter, maybe, is Easter one?
Yes, Easter. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then okay, so then did you did you go to church a lot? Were your grandparents involved? Were your parents to going to church a lot? Was that part of your lifestyle?
So regarding my grandparents, no, they were not coming with us because they were living in some other cities, and I was not really going to church actually, because I've been following some Catholic teachings for several years when I was a kid. I've been doing some other ceremonies, like we could say the level 2 of baptism, or in level 3. I've done this, and I don't know. When I was a kid, I was believing in all these things, and so I went through this, but I was not really going to church. It's like I was feeling like it was useless or something. I was not seeing the point of this when I was a kid. It's like even prayers, all these things, I was like not understanding. I was so it's like I've been raised in a Catholic family, but there was also this atheist mentality, I would say. It was both. It's like this scientist, atheist mentality, and a Catholic. So I was in between, and so that's why I was not really believing. Say, when I was a kid, I was following, but wasn't really believing. It's like I hadn't experienced things. I was not like understanding, and the people around me were not explaining to me the way that Nityananda has explained to me how things are working in the world, in life. And so basically, when I was asking questions when I was a kid, as I was saying that I was really curious, I was getting answers, but I don't know, these answers were not fulfilling me. It's like there was something missing, and that's what I've been looking for now at the end of my teenager age and early adulthood. And since then, I've received my answer. But when I was a kid, I would say that I was following the Catholic teachings, but I was not really believing. It's like there was something, I don't know. I was not trusting or something. That's like there was this mismatch, something.
Exactly. You've hit on some extremely important points there. Even the aspect of like that is something a lot of people experience. Even especially in around North America, in with relation to Christianity, is that aspect of actually feeling like sort of like they're living atheist, actually, because yeah, we go to church sometimes, and sometimes people mention stuff and Christmas is there, but I'm not sort of like I'm not I'm not dressing, I'm not dressing like a Christian necessarily. Like, like for example, if a Hindu is wearing dhotis, right? Like if I were, growing as a Christian, I'm not wearing, I don't even know what would be a Christian dress, but it's like we don't, it depends. Different people are different, obviously, but even like our family was not like, if someone asked what religion were you, you would tell them it was Lutheran just because it was. But the only reason it really was because the great grandparents somehow got into Lutheran church, I think somewhere in Prussia, in like the end of the 1800s. So, and then, even it was funny, like, even if we, like, I ended up going to, I think 2 or 3 different churches, like our grandparents would, come to visit for Christmas. And so we would go to, like, we only went to church like once a year, like Christmas, that was it. And we only went because our grandparents went every week to where they were, their local church. But a lot of it was because they were volunteering there. Like the grandmother was singing, so she was in the choir, or like the organ player. So that was a big part. And so, yeah, the only time we would go was basically once a year. And so, yeah, they would come to visit us for Christmas, and then we would like, go to, if we could, the Lutheran church that was in, in our town. And it was so, but yeah, so it was kind of like, and a lot of people were like that. It was like, yeah, like you call yourself Christian, and it's sort of like, in a lot of ways, by default, everyone's Christian. But within that, there's extreme variation. Like there would even be like Mormons, and some of the Mormons would be seen as very more fundamentalist, like, like they might have bigger families and they might be more strict with certain things, like they couldn't go out maybe late at night or whatever. And so there was different groups. And then some people would have, like, they'd be more involved with church. They'd be part of maybe like a soup kitchen, or like they would do like weekend activities, or they'd be part of like Sunday school, or they like, so yeah, so it's like by default, everyone sort of would, for the most part, be bunched into like what would be called Christian. But what that actually meant, was extremely different for everyone. and even for that individual versus their parents or whoever was taking them to church or whatever, there would be, it's sort of like an individual thing, you know. So but that is definitely something that has been noticed is, yeah, there is that aspect of atheism. It's like, even though you might call yourself, you know, it's kind of like, you know, if you you know, if you, if you actually look at it, it's like, if you're not worshiping God, you know, if you're not actively worshiping God, then, you know, and even if people say like, oh, I don't know if God exists, or I don't actively worship a God or something. It's like, I mean, in many ways, that's what atheism is, you know? It's like a lot of times people will, like, if you say like, well, what you do, like, you don't, you know, if you kind of like, if they say, oh, I am Christian, but not really, I'm nothing. Okay, so you're atheist. No, I'm not atheist. Well, if you're not, right, if you're not actively worshiping a God, then you are atheist. You know, like, that's what atheism is. Like, you know, so there's a lot of those gray areas where people wouldn't actively admit, they wouldn't want to say I'm atheist, because a lot of the understanding is atheist means I'm opposed to religion. But in a lot of ways, actually, you know, coming from Sanatana Hindu Dharma and deity existence, and like giving gratitude to the existence, because existence exists and many beings exist without bodies, and so it's like, if you're not giving gratitude to God, then you are atheist. So if you're not you know, so people will say, oh, I'm undecided. Well, that's what atheism is because if you're not actively giving gratitude to the source of existence, then that is atheism, because you're choosing, like, saying I don't know if God exists or not, means you're not deciding that God does exist, which means that you're decided that the God doesn't exist because you're not actively worshiping a God. So that's atheism, you know. So yeah, that was, you know, just one of the things you touched on. I don't want to derail us too much, but just sharing some of the common experiences. And so yeah, so you mentioned yeah, those kind of things. And so so that was one of the aspects you mentioned for atheism. And so actually what I wanted to ask you was, you had said that you weren't getting answers and you didn't entirely trust what was going on. So here's the question. So where in your early life do you start remembering having those experiences where you were like, wait a second, you know, the answers I'm getting aren't adding up. It's not enough. I'm not trusting it. I'm not believing it. How did that start? Where do you remember? Because that's a profound thing. That is a profound, and you mentioned that you were an exceptional student, and teachers were saying, oh, all kids should be like you. And you felt at times like you were an adult in a child's body. And so this is a profound thing when the individual begins to recognize, you know, a conflict between their inner self, their inner being, you know, and what is being told to them or taught to them. You know, this is fundamental to, you know, life and you know, life and society and development, you know, so many aspects. So then how can you remember what is your memory for earliest times in your life where you were noticing those kind of conflicts?
So conflicts between trust and distrust.
Yeah, and feeling like the answers you were getting weren't complete answers, you know, and yeah, and like, not like that you totally, you know, that you were totally against church or you were totally against, but what can you remember from your life where you were starting to question the story, you know, in a certain sense, like, you know, the story of life that people were giving you?
Well, I don't know why, but what I'm remembering now is like The miracles of Jesus that we were telling us about, I don't know why, but when I was a kid, I was feeling like it was bullshit. Or something like that.
The miracle.
Well, what do you say? I don't hear you anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry. You were saying the miracles, right? The miracles
Of Jesus.
of Jesus. Okay, sorry. Continue. I missed that word.
So, so regarding the miracles of Jesus, I don't know why, but I was not trusting it. I was feeling like it. Actually, it was nonsense, and that's why I was not trusting. I was thinking it was just stories, and that it was not true. Eventually, with time, I realized that things that Jesus did were true, but just that the way I was perceiving it when I was a kid, I was thinking it was untrue. And also I learned through time that actually Jesus has been in India, and he was trained in India. So actually the knowledge and the powers that he received were from India, from Hinduism itself. And it's basically it's like it's a low version of Hinduism, basically. That's what I would say. And
So, okay, so that's fine. So why did you why did you feel the word you used, like that these miracles were BS?
I don't know. I was just trusting. I think that because back then I was both Catholic and atheist as well. Because I don't know. I was born in, so I've been baptized. I've been raised in a, I would say, in Catholic family. I would say, but the thing is, they were not practicing, so it was not like there were no prayers, no. It's just like you get baptized, you get into the Catholic community, but actually you don't practice. So it's like it's nonsense. It's weird, and um, I don't know what I want to say now.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's exactly the thing, because that's what happens is because we I remember I remember when I was about probably 6 or 7 or 8. See, the only time we used to go to church basically was Christmas, so it'd be once a year. And I mean, for a 6-year-old kid who never went to church, they'd put me in my nice pants and my nice sweater and comb my hair and put water on my hair, and then I'd go and sit in, like, I don't know if it was a cold church. I guess in wintertime it was, and with a bunch of old people I didn't know, and it was like smelled like mothballs or whatever, and it was like dark, and it wasn't happy. It wasn't like these were not the kind of churches we went to. It wasn't like the kind of churches where there's big choirs and they're dancing. Like, that was not ours. Like, our choir, would be like, it would be like 5 or 10 or 15 people, and it'd be like some old people, and but uh church for me was like even one friend, when I was about 9 or 10, he went to a different church, but he went to Sunday school. So I ended up going with him because he was a friend, and that was fun. Like, we played games, and they taught you games about, I don't know what but stuff, and they give you homework, like, I don't know, read, like, tell what this page says, and so that was, I mean, it was okay for us. It was somehow, that was something, but the regular church stuff that we otherwise did was um like we just sit on the pew, sit on the hard wooden bench, and some old grandpa who's the pastor talks about, I don't have any idea what he's talking about for like 2 hours, And for a kid, for me, that was torture. But yeah, I mean, that's what I remember is I literally remember I literally remember they were dragging me kicking and screaming into the car to get me to come to the church. I remember that actually. And so yeah, so that was a big part, was just like I already know this doesn't mean anything to you guys. I know that because you know, we never go, and you don't make me go ever, and you never talk about going, and you even tell me you only go once a year and it's no big deal and it doesn't really matter. Like, you're telling me that it doesn't matter. So I know it doesn't matter. So yeah, so, and then like also like you said, like there was the culture of really like atheism in our family that was just sort of like, because it was mostly just the grandparents, they went for their own purposes. But yeah, it was mostly, and the grandmother would tell, like, because they were she was in the choir, and it was a little bit funny to me that she said that, because I was like, I think you like it more than that, you know. But you know, in retrospect, it's like both of them were just saying like, you know, the grandfather went because she went, and for, I think, volunteering, and then she went because she was in the choir. And I was like, really? Like, you seem more devoted than that. Not just, but maybe, but so they have their own understanding of it. So, but yeah, so we did all that stuff, and that's it. And so, and then our family, their children and grandchildren, we didn't go on our own to church. So then right there, I knew there's something wrong, because our grandparents go, but our family doesn't go. So right there, I know that, and then also, you know, the parents talking about why they don't go and if they should go and they don't want to. So they are creating the narrative, right, of that, why it's, you know, they're rationalizing even unconsciously why we're not going to church. So they're building the narrative why we don't have to go. So yeah, so all those aspects are there, and definitely there was that hypocritical question of, like, why do I have to do this? You're the one who's telling me it's not important. So why are we doing it? It doesn't. And I guess one of the big things that I always just felt was the message I was getting from the church was like, love your brother, follow the golden rule, treat others as you'd want to be treated. But people didn't do that. Like, no one lived like that. And to me, there wasn't much more to it. There was some, like, it was really disjointed. That was my experience. About there was such a disconnect, you know. There was some talk about a God, and but relating it to how you're supposed to live was so far away from me. And I guess, you know, part of it is how that's imparted, right? It wasn't Gurukul. It wasn't Gurukul where you run around and you do every activity. And it was, you know, the only part of it for us was you sit and some old man says all these crazy things about something called God. And so yeah, so that experience was there. It was just sort of like, it doesn't, the relevance to me was lost. And that was the challenge in later life, was it's not applicable, and I just can't hold on to it anymore, because it just doesn't apply. It doesn't tell me how to eat. It doesn't tell me how to sleep. It doesn't tell me how to exercise. And it just says, turn the other cheek and follow the golden rule. And I sure as heck know the other people in the church are not following that. They're not living that way. So, great. So, okay, good. So how did that change for you if you were, you know, having those questions? And at what age did you feel, I guess we could ask also, right? Was there a point where where you sort of decided, this is not for me? Was there a point like that where you had more clarity? You're like, yeah, it's something we do, but it's not it's not really it's not a big important deal that I need to sort of live my whole life by.
I'd say 12 or 13 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
Actually, I was at Catholic middle school. I've done what we call in French confirmation. I don't know how to say in English, but it's like
Confirmation, yeah.
A confirmation, you say, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I did that. But actually, I wasn't really realizing why I was doing that. It's like I was doing it mechanically or something. Actually, I don't remember. It's like I did it, but I don't know why actually I did it. It's like I did because you said, oh, okay, it's nice to do it. But I was not really convinced. It's like, yeah. Because actually, exactly what you said, there was this this difference between what was taught at the church and what we were living, and I was feeling that there was this difference between this, and but actually now with time I realized that the church has some good teachings, and that even if I say earlier it was a low version of Hinduism, I would like to remove this what I said, because I'd say that they have some good teaching, because exactly what you said, like treat others the same way that you would like to be treated. That's a great teaching actually, because even Hinduism is teaching that. And I would say that there are some teachings that are great. It's just that people are not fully understanding or following it. But I know some Catholic families which are believing, and or it's a good families, and actually they are following the teachings of God through Catholicism, and they are living a great life. So I would say that you can also find your own path through Catholicism. It's just that I would say that it is not. I feel like it's not really effective, because at least in France, I don't know how it is in other countries, but at least in France, I know that the church is being deserted. Lots of people are not going to church anymore. It's like people don't believe anymore. It's like atheism. Believing in science and in technologies is overriding it. It's like it's taking over. And just because people are needs to have experiences, and actually it's basically life which got me back on track on the spiritual path and on the believing path, because I got some experiences which made me understand that there's something beyond. And I just got back my faith in humanity, because I was like I want to do something great in the world, because I was feeling the suffering, and I was seeing that the world was going through going to a bad shape, and I was like, I want to do something. I want to make a difference. Okay, that's maybe arrogant, but that was my way of changing myself. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to do something. Until I realized that to change the world, you have to change yourself within. But back then, when I was a teenage boy, I just wanted to change the world basically, and because I was seeing that it wasn't going, the world was in bad shape, and eventually it led me to Hinduism.
So great, Sri Presha. What time did you know notice the world was not in good shape? Because that's a bit of that's a profound thing also.
Actually, I would say the first age that came to my mind was 15, 16, so that was quite late actually. But actually, it started when I was a kid. As I said earlier, that when I was seeing that my parents were suffering because they were going to work, they were stressed, they were depressed, they weren't being okay. So already at that time, I knew that I didn't want to work because of that, and I was seeing that there was something which was going wrong in this life, and I didn't want to go through this. And but back then, when I was a kid, I was not realizing what was happening in the world. It's like my parents were not really telling us what was happening in the news and all the things. But basically, what I knew about the world and the life was basically what I was learning at school. And what I was learning at school was history, and history it was not like the news. It was things that happened in the past. So I was disconnected from what was happening in the news. And so I'd say I started being connected to the news and all and the things when I was a teenager. I'd say because back then I was being feeling I was like disconnected and I was living a blissful life mostly. I was just playing and having fun and that's it. And I was not uh, conscious of the world. I would say I was conscious of my own happiness, of my own bliss. But I would say my own it was ignorance. I'd say as well. But I didn't know back then. Yeah.
Right. Well, can I ask what is your age now?
I'm 28.
Right. Okay. Yeah. See, these are extremely profound things for all young people. Right, to confront these kind of things. How did I grow up? What was I doing? Why was I doing it? What were people telling me to do? Did I agree with it? Did I not? Why not? What other options are there? What is God? Is there a God? Right? Like these are important, like for young people out there today growing up. I mean, would you agree these are important questions for their life?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, right. So you were saying that you went through the baptism and the confirmation, and you didn't exactly know why. You just sort of went through the motions, and you're questioning about it, and you're doing your activities in your life. What were the like what? And then you sort of said you were just sort of going along blissfully. So if you were just going like blissful ignorance type thing, so if you were just going along that way, as an early teenager and whatnot, so what was the process? What was the change in your? We could also let's start with this other question. Okay, what was your understanding of Hinduism when you grew up, and even your earliest understandings you can remember? When was that, and what was it?
Well, it came really late actually, because when I was a kid, nobody was speaking about Hinduism. It's like in France, like Hinduism was like nowhere to be heard about. It's like it was even India. We were not speaking about India that much. I just knew about through geography classes that India was where it is on the map. But besides that, I didn't know much about India. I mean, we learned about things that happen in India through history also, but few things. It's like mostly what we learn in school was mostly on always centered on France. Like it's like I would say it's lots of nationalism, and because of that, we were disconnected from the truth. I'd say we were just following the school program, which was programming us to be just slaves of the system. But I didn't know when I was a kid. And actually, I came to know about Hinduism when I met Nityananda Swamiji, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashivam. And it was in 2017. And actually, I didn't know it was about Hinduism. It's just, actually, I knew I would meet, I would come to this event because I saw it was about third eye. And I had read an article about third eye 1 year before, and I actually at this point I was thinking that it was weird, and I was not really attracted to it. But I had first encountered third eye things 1 year before, so it was in 2016. And when I heard about third eye a second time in 2017, then actually when I saw this, I was like, I will be this Sunday at this event, and that's when I met His Divine Holiness. And actually, when it was my first encountering with Hinduism, and before I was really not connected to Hinduism at all. And because I was raised in a family, so in a Catholic family, as I said earlier, and which was not believing, so there was no faith. I'd say it was more atheism. And so yeah, in France we don't speak about Hinduism. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in France we don't speak about Hinduism at all. It's like it comes through time or when you're an adult, but in school you don't speak about it. I mean, you know, because it's like when you study about religions, you hear like there's Islam, Catholicism, and Buddhism or Protestantism, and other religions, but Hinduism is like secondary or a minority or something. It's like even if it's like in India, it's 2 billion Hindus. It's lots of Hindus, so it's it's huge. But it's like in school programs, and in France, it's like nobody talks about it. It's really
Yeah, it was similar here. It was like, yeah, there was some mention of Islam and some mention of Buddhism and a little bit Judaism, but Hinduism was less than that. So Hinduism was like, so what was your understanding at all at, like, say, age of 9, 10, 11, 12? What was your understanding at that point of Hinduism? Like, what did you cognize?
I guess, because I feel like I don't remember, but I would just say I just knew that Hinduism was in India. That's it. That's all I knew. That's all. And besides this, I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that yoga was coming from Hinduism. Actually, when I was a kid, I wasn't even hearing about yoga. It's like I feel like yoga is. I mean, obviously, yoga was in France, like I think some decades ago. But when I was a kid, my mother, who is doing yoga today, was not doing yoga or other things. So I was completely disconnected from Hinduism, actually. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. And so why do you think that is? Or that was?
Why I've been disconnected? Because I feel like there's an agenda in Western countries, which is to make us as slaves of the system and being just consumers. And they don't want us to get awakened. And they're not interested in that. They just want us to be following the system and just being working and being depressed, being going to the doctor, taking some pills, and that's it. They just they are not interested in our well-being. If they were, that would be known, I would say. And it's just our own consciousness, our own motivation, which makes us go on this path. Or at least I would say that's what I think. But I think it's also your karma, or like your, but also yourself, because you have the choice. You can also decide to be an idiot, I would say. So it depends on you. But I would say there are some predispositions, but after it's what you do about it. And I would say that mostly what I experience in France is like everything is centered on consumerism. And well, it has changed over the years, because now, for example, there are more and more organic shops so that you can buy some organic food. But when I was a kid, there were mostly non-existent. There were no organic shops back then. Now you can find some, and we have one in my city now. But when I was a kid, there was none. So I feel the consciousness has evolved, but still there's a long way to go. And I would say the main issue in France, and I think in most Western countries, is the society is centered on individualism. So basically, we're all divided, all separated. Even you can see you have a fence, you have a door. It's like everything is closed. And for example, if you're a sadhu in Paris, well, you're gonna die. It's hard. You're not being. It's pretty hard in the Western countries. I mean, at least in Paris, like you're gonna get cold. You're just being begging, but lots of people won't give. And even when I was a kid, my father was telling me, yes, but if you give, he's going to buy alcohol or something. So, and let's say that the difference between sadhus and homeless people, at least in Paris, it's like they're not doing it from the same context. That's the difference. And but there's not this culture of supporting and helping the people. It's like because it's centered on individualism and consumerism. It's like people they think about themselves and they just want to consume things, objects, and stuff. But as they're centered on their own self survivalism, they don't think about helping others because they are already thinking about how to survive themselves. So they don't think about other things. And there is not this culture of helping each other as is in India. In Hinduism, it's different. Okay, there are some associations, some people who are doing that kind of thing, even in France. But I would say that actually at the church, there are some people who are doing this as well. But I'd say that the mainstream culture in France is individualism, yes, and that's a shame, I would say.
Right. So, great. So let's move into your ages of 13, 14, 15, 16. What's happening at that time in your life?
So 13, 14, 15, 16 at that time?
Yeah.
So I'm finishing middle school and I'm going to high school, and I'm just living the present moment, and I'm doing my homework. I'm going to school. I'm living with my family, and I'm not really asking questions. I can see at the time. It's like I'm just living. And then at 14, I remember I dug myself into video games. So I'd say it's like I wasted some time of my life at that time, but I didn't know. It's like it was the hype thing at the time, and I played the game World of Warcraft. I'm pretty sure you heard about this one. And yeah, it took me lots of time. Actually, I loved that game. I remember at that time. I swore, sorry, that I would play this game for my whole life as much as I love this game. Then obviously it passed, and happily it passed this thought. But I was playing this game like every night, every evening when I was coming back from school, because it's like I was digging myself. I was not happy, and I was just to pass the time and just to, yeah, that's it. I would say that was the thing that I thought was making me happy, but I was far away from the truth. It was just a time-consuming activity, but that's it. It was not. Actually, I'd say that I learned how to collaborate with other people, because for this game to be played, you had to be playing with in a team or with other people. So that was interesting. But otherwise, say it was a waste of time. So I'd say that time was my gaming period, let's say, mostly.
Yeah, exactly. So Sri Priyesha, there's so this, and just looking the experience of playing the games also, and so there's this thing that, and what it does is that also, especially, see, actually I never played that game. I played this Age of Empires game, and some they called Diablo thing, and that one, things like that, Civilization, and that, and so it was earlier that way. But so, but I've seen just short glimpses of the World of Warcraft thing. So then that becomes extremely scary, because but even in that level of we had like the Nintendo with Legend of Zelda and stuff, the adventure games. So you become a character. Character starts with nothing. Character meets other people, builds a group, gathers food, gathers experience, grows and grows and grows. So actually, what this is, it's a altered reality. You know, it's another reality. Is actually, and that is part of the big the big pull, is that, I'm just looking personally at that experience. What was it? Because that game was like this that Diablo game, and it was like there was dungeon, like 25 layers of dungeon you would go into. That was the thing. And then and so what is it? It's like, okay, there's this character can die, but he can get stronger. He can destroy some demons, whatever, and get stronger, and then get to a point where he can't, handle it. He go back and get health, and then come back and try again and get stronger and try. And so you can build yourself up. So it's like in your actual life, right? It's like, today I'm not strong enough to go and accomplish that thing. But if I work on it for a few hours today, and then I come back tomorrow, I'll come back to the game tomorrow, then I can work on it a few more hours. Then maybe after a few days, I can get past that next thing. So it's like my real life is here, but I have another life that I can also build and slowly get better and get. and personally, it looks like that was, that was a big part of the draw that sort of brings you back, right? Is that, and even if you look, if it's simple games like playing like volleyball, electronic games, like even in that, it's like, it's giving you it's giving you a different experience of it gives you a different experience of a reality of and even if it's just represented on the two-dimensional screen, um it is really like it's an alternate reality, and that becomes the draw. So isn't it then that there's that and so it must be, so well, only if I'm not fulfilled, right? If that's where it becomes, where, like, because you had mentioned that you call it your gaming period, or you threw yourself into the games, and obviously that happens with a lot of people, and so and we used to do that too. It was, we had sports and games and video games. Those are two kind of things. But and even sports is the same thing. So you we throw we do the activities that are available because they're available. It's kind of like you went to church, you went through the baptism, the confirmation, because that's what was happening, and you didn't know about Hinduism because it wasn't taught, and you go along with what's taught, and you did the activities the family was doing, and you learn the stuff they were teaching in the school, and we do what we're doing because those are the things that are done around us. Like, you're not right. You're not going to expect a 3-year-old child to come up and oppose everything and change everything and redo everything and recreate the entire society. They're going to go along with the things that are happening around them. Whether they choose this or that is okay, but their options are the things that are there. Their options are not the things that are not there. So then isn't it the case then that people, right, because that, especially with boys, young boys, especially today, the video games is such a different dimension, especially the World of Warcraft thing, and those completely immersive things where you're a character and there's other characters are there, and you can, they have virtual parties, you can, and I don't even know what they are actually, then the Sims games and stuff, but it's literally completely total other realities. You can put on the headgear, and so it's a literally complete life, right? You can get married in those games, you can have kids and all. So when the people get themselves thrown into those things and like immersed in them, and to a point where they may or may not recognize even that it's become extremely addictive, and it's started to work against their ability to manage their own reality in their own life amongst the human beings, whether it's communicative abilities or emotional or whatever. So, but isn't it the case? So this is the question. Isn't it the case that when the kids or anyone else, but the kids it happens to, especially the young boys and increasingly girls, get into the video games, but isn't it the case that like a fulfilled being, especially with support from the ecosystem around them, wouldn't be able to get engrossed into, the really violent, the extremely violent games, whether it's GTA or whatever. Extremely, some of them are complete violence. It's literally going and killing monster after monster after monster. And so isn't it the case that it happens because that being is not fulfilled?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that the case?
No, that's exactly what I want to say, because actually at that period I was not being fulfilled. I was going through an unhappy period. It's like I was not having so many friends, and I was feeling that my life had no meaning or something, and I just basically threw myself into the game because this alternative reality was fulfilling myself more than my than reality, actually. So basically, when I was playing the game, I was fulfilling myself more than having my own reality. So basically, I wanted to live more this alternative reality than my life. And it took some years before I went away from this, because I was not trusting life, actually. That's the thing. Because I had been I was not being fulfilled, but I want to say I was not being I would say, as you said, that was the option that was given to me, and I took it. And it was like a pill, I would say, somehow like this. It was, instead of going to it was some kind of depression pill, I would say. Instead of being depressed, I was playing games, let's say. And that's what we call geeks, you know. And so I was being labeled a geek, but I didn't care, because that was my thing at that time. And that was fulfilling me. At least that's what I thought, that it was just fulfilling the time. So feeling the time, sorry, feeling.
Mhm.
Actually, it's weird. It's like I forgot this period. It's like I didn't like it, so I just remember I was playing games, but that's it. It's like I forgot about it. Yeah. Mm. Yes.
Yeah, we um like yeah, I mean, even sports is a similar thing. Um Especially the fact that a lot of the sports are violent, whether it's, I mean, even even soccer, football is extremely dangerous. Um, you know, let alone like American rules football or ice hockey or whatever. So, um, but yeah, that's what there's those areas of life where, and it's there are different things. People could even get into art, which people may not see as, it's not a bad thing to be into art. um but I guess the thing is, when you get to that being, that person, you know and it's just sort of that aspect, like, can you say to that person, can you ask them, and just ask them to themselves, because there's so many young people out there faced with these challenges, and you see them. Actually, I mean, I trained as a teacher. I spent 6 years studying, and I got a degree in teaching, and I worked in more than 30 schools with more than 100 teachers in more than 5 countries. And I've been in that field since 2001. And so, and I see the kids, I see them. I've worked as a youth advisor, I've worked in group homes and I've seen a lot of that. And yeah, the kids are struggling a lot. And it becomes like uh, like you were saying, I was passing the time, but I was fulfilling myself in that. And that's the question, right? Is, obviously it's actually not fulfillment, but it is filling something. And so the thing is, right, there's this inner, lack of fulfillment. There's this inner fire, right? There's this inner passion. There's this inner need that is getting filled by things that are not fulfilling, right? And so, yeah, so that is um, what we see is, whether the kids go into alcohol or drugs or other relationships, or video games, food, or violent behavior, crime, uh, they have to do something.
Mm.
And as kids get older, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, they get more independent. They have to do something with their energy and intelligence. They have to put it somewhere.
Yes.
So, yeah, so, there's that question of what responsibility do we take as, if, even if you want to call yourself human or as beings, like how responsible is each person for, because, for example, the society that you live in, like the options that are available, presumably the children will choose one of those options. Like, that is they're given, those are the options. And generally the most popular ones, the most present ones, the most available ones, generally are going to be what they're going to gravitate towards. Like the majority of kids, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds who are feeling unfulfilled are not going to go and sit in Padmasana spontaneously and start meditating and try to become Buddha and find Sanatana Hindu Dharma and look for fulfillment and life's purpose. They're going to eat food or play video games or etc., etc. So yeah, so there is that question, right? It's like the society is moving on and the kids are going to be streamed into the areas that society is presenting for them as possibilities for their life. And like you had mentioned, you had a similar sense that the parents complained about work maybe every day, complaining they don't want to go in the morning and complaining when they got back that they didn't want to be there. And I also made the same decision when I was about even later, 17 or 19. I just said, I'm never going to grow up, because I was getting out of high school in those days, and they were saying, go to college so you can get a job. Go to college or get a job. And I was just like, well, I don't want a job, because from what I understand, listening to you guys for the last 20 years, jobs suck, they're terrible, and they ruin your life. So I don't want to be, if being an adult means getting a job, then I never want to be like you guys, because all I hear is I have to go to work and I worked all day and I'm tired from work. And I was just like, okay, so I'm never going to be an adult then, because I don't want to be like you guys. I like being a kid. I like having fun and enjoying my life. So I decided consciously when I was about 17, I was like, okay, time will move on and I'll move on, but I'm never going to become an adult. And it's funny. I mean, I ended up literally being a student for like 11 of the next 13 years after that. But yeah, so I mean, that's, yeah, it's yeah, kids are going to do, kids have to do something, right? They have to do something. So
Yes.
So, okay, maybe you can take us through the ages like 15 to 20. What was evolving for you?
I would say at 15 to 20, I was interested by girls.
Okay. Right.
Yes. And so at this age, I realized I just wanted to date some girls. And when I was 15, 16, I was too shy. So I remember there was a girl I really liked, and I wanted to enter a relationship with her, but it never did because I was too shy and I never asked her or whatever. Then when I was 17, 17, I got a relationship with a girl older than me, 2 years older than me. And I remember when I was 17, this relationship just got for 2 weeks and a half. And it was too bad that I was losing my freedom and all the things. And I swore I will never have a relationship anymore. Because I was like, what? So if this is a relationship, then I don't want this. basically, actually, every evening she wanted me I had a phone at that time. Actually, I got my first cell phone at 16. And so I remember saying that I was 17 at that time, and that girlfriend, she wanted me to basically fulfill her and message her all the time so that she gets fulfilled and she gets happy and all the things. And I didn't want it because I was used to have my time and being and just being happy, and I didn't. And actually having somebody needy on the other side of the phone, I didn't want this. And so that's why it just lasted for 2 weeks, and then I didn't have a girlfriend for 3 years. So that was my first relationship experience. That was really weird. That at least I got one, let's say. And then when I was 20, I got my first real relationship, and that was the first that really fulfilled me. Where actually I learned a lot, and I spent. So actually, I met Swamiji when I was with her, and so actually right now we're going through the 20s. So maybe we want to stop. So I don't know.
No, that's fine. Sorry, it's good. Keep going. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And actually, it's so I had sworn. Say,
Yes.
yeah, I had sworn that I wouldn't have a relationship anymore. But then I changed my mind a few years after. So when I was 20, so I got into a relationship with a girl when I was doing my student exchange in Romania. And I met a girl who was really amazing. She was doing photography and doing other things, and I was basically admiring her. And actually, I didn't know. I just when I saw her, I was just seeing her pretty and all the things. So I just wanted to date her, and we had an amazing relationship for a few years. And I learned a lot through this relationship. And I'd say that was my first experience. Actually, I questioned lots of things, and I learned how to live with somebody that was and to what I thought was a good thing, because the society tells you that, like, you go to school, then you meet somebody, then you get kids, and then you grow up and all the things. And I thought I was moving the right way until Nityananda told me that you shouldn't get a relationship or do sexual activities until you were at least 21 or even more. And actually, that sexuality is something that should not be taken. How to say? Lightly, let's say, because Hinduism tells us that when you have a sexual relationship with somebody, actually you have sex with 32 people. So you have sex with the family, with the grandparents, with the grand-grandparents, and all the people, because these energies are in the person. And I didn't know that, because Christianity doesn't tell you about this. And then during this relationship, I don't know why, but I had this intuition. I said, one day I will be a monk. And I told my girlfriend, one day I will be a monk. And I didn't know why. I knew I would be a monk. It's like I didn't know where this was coming from, basically I was learning through this relationship that I was enjoying myself, and that I was learning how to enjoy myself, and that and I also learned through this relationship that you cannot fulfill somebody who is not being who is being unfulfilled. It's like yes, actually, what I learned through this relationship is that you have to fulfill yourself by yourself and not wait for somebody to fulfill you. And that's the problem, I think, that is in most relationships, at least in couples today, is that people are expecting the other to fill the gap that is empty in their life through the other person. And that's the main problem, actually. And actually, I think maybe I'm touching a pattern or a root pattern or something. It's like actually we're afraid of what's empty. We always want to fill the gap, fill the emptiness, because emptiness is scary somehow. And actually I realized that basically I stopped this relationship and I went through and I went to Swamiji, and then I got fulfilled through Swamiji's teachings, and he's filling me somehow. So he answered to some of my needs to fulfill myself, to fill me. And but still, we have to learn how to fill ourselves, to fulfill ourselves by ourselves. And I think that's one of the main, the scary things.
Right. Okay, great. So then let's ask you to speak about the supreme pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, as you've mentioned him several times. So yeah, what else do you want to share?
Well, I would just basically start by saying that he changed my life. That's it. He changed my life forever. Because his teachings transform me, transform my life, transform my family, transform all the people around me. Because as I changed myself, my surroundings changed as well. As what starts within happens also outside. And I say without him, I wouldn't be the one I'm today. That's it. And I learned a lot about relationships, about how to live. I remember actually I had this long asking about myself, how to live my life. And I remember you were speaking about this earlier. Like I was always asking myself how to live. Actually, I didn't have the manual on how to live. And he gave me the manual on how to live. That's something amazing. Because nobody had taught me how to live. I mean, actually, yes, my parents had taught me how to live at some point, but they had not taught me the details, how to brush my teeth, how to sleep, how to all the things that you mentioned earlier. And Bhagavan answers all these questions. And Hinduism answers all these questions, actually. And that's an amazing thing because actually in Catholicism, you can see that the priests are, I mean, there's alcohol actually in Catholicism, and that's something that's beyond my mind actually when you think about it. It's like basically they're promoting alcoholism actually in the church, and saying that it's the blood and whatever, but actually I can see that the manual of life, actually I would say there is some manual of life in Catholicism, but the life's manual that you find in Hinduism is much more complete. That's I would say. And actually, speaking about completion, Bhagavan has completed me. Actually, I had lots of questions, and what I would say is what I really like about my life today is that my questions have found answers, and that's why actually I'm following him, because I know that whatever question I might have or I will have in the future, I will find an answer to them through his teaching or through whatever way he's going to tell us. And that's something crazy actually when you think about it, because there are lots of people asking themselves questions and he answers them all. And he even gives protocols or techniques for yourself to be independent or to find your own answers. And he will also answer to your question through satsangs or through initiations or through lots of things, and even through life actually. Because I feel that since I've met him, I've had experiences and things that happened in my life that answered to my questions. And so basically, if he doesn't give you through teaching, he gives you through life, through experiences. That's amazing. I feel like I have my own, how to say, my own mentor, my own guide, and that's amazing. That's what I've been looking for, and that's what you call a guru. And I didn't know back then it was a guru, the one who's removing the darkness out of your life, removing your own ignorance. And basically, since then, I'm not ignorant anymore. I've learned so many things about so many fields that I'm feeling more and more complete at the end of the day. And I went through doubt, through lots of, let's say, periods, but eventually it came to today where actually I'm living a blissful life, and actually I can feel it. It has enriched my family, my relatives, and all the people around me, and I can feel the ecosystem being built around me. That's really amazing. It's like I don't know, my life has changed forever since I've met him. It's like I don't know how much he's doing on me, but I give him the credit actually, because lots of teachings that I received from him have changed my life, because the vibration, the frequency that we have in our body attracts experience and attracts a situation in our life. And the more and more we have strong cognitions, strong knowledge, the more we attract good things in our life. Because cognitions are transmitted body through body. And so basically, if I enrich myself, I enrich others. And that's really amazing. And even this thought of knowing how to enrich people and to enrich myself are things I learned from Bhagavan. I didn't know back then. And even responsibilism, that thing that is missing in Western society, I feel. Responsibilism is a key that should happen in everybody. Actually, you should contribute and take responsibility for something in your life so that actually you feel fulfilled by whatever you take responsibility on. And the four that was integrity, authenticity, responsibility, and enriching, or some four amazing teachings, four amazing principles that change your life forever as well. And actually, it's funny because it's four principles, and I also remember that I read a book which is called the Four Toltec Agreements, which is a wisdom from you know about it?
Yeah.
Wisdom from South America, and also it's four principles as well. That's funny. And even these, and which are having an impeccable speech, not making any supposition, not taking things personal. And the fourth one is whatever happens in your life, do your best. And actually, these four teachings have also changed my life. And I feel like I've been guided through my whole life. I can feel about it. And all the experiences I've been through my whole life have guided me to Bhagavan, actually. It's like he had prepared me or something. Because maybe if I hadn't gone through all these experiences, depression, video games, the church and everything, maybe I wouldn't have recognized him or maybe accepted him as my guru today. And that's why I thank life for whatever I went through, because I can feel that whatever I went through was a teaching. And I can't say something was better or something was worse than another, because everything has been building myself, building me, and eventually led me to Hinduism. It's like Hinduism is the pinnacle, the summit of it all, and that's I'm really happy about it. It's like I found the final answer to my questions. I know that the Hinduism has the answer to all my questions. So as I know this, I'm fulfilled, because I know that if I have a question, I can dig into Hinduism, and I know that I will find the answer. It's crazy actually about it when you think about it, and that's something I wasn't experiencing before, because I didn't know that there was a teaching, a field called Hinduism that can answer any question. When you think about it, that's crazy. It's a huge achievement to know that you can find all your answers. It's a deep completion, actually.
So, how did you come to know about the supreme part of Hinduism?
Well, so as I was speaking about the four Toltec agreements earlier about this book, so basically it was some circumstances in my life which led me to him. So basically, I went to a doctor that I hadn't seen for 3 years. It was about my feet, because I had flat feet, sorry. And then all of a sudden, he spoke to me about the four Toltec agreements. And then I went on this book. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I learned these four principles, and it changed my life. It was in 2016. And I met then a game, a board game creator, which was actually translating books, spiritual books, into board games. And then I went to him, and because I had learned computer science in school, and I said to him, "That's amazing what you're doing. You're translating actually books into board games." Then I just told him, "And what about translating these board games into video games, actually, so that we could have some spiritual video games, some games where actually you learn about spirituality?" So I was feeling that it was an amazing thing, because actually I wanted to make the bridge between spirituality and computer science. And so I was feeling like it was the pinnacle at that time when I was meeting this guy. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I can do what I like, building something with my computer science skills to help people in the spiritual field. So I was very fulfilled about doing this. And then for a couple of months, I developed a game which is called the Haka's game, so which is about the Maoris, the Pacific Ocean Maoris culture, where actually they're doing the Haka on their, it's like it's a war dance, but actually can be used to distress yourself and to release your emotions and feel better. And basically, we did an app where actually you say whatever problem you have in your life, be it fear, be it stress, be it doubt, or whatever. Then after you choose the action that you want to take to be better. So be it protect yourself. I don't have any other example now, but protect yourself, for example, and then the states in which you want to be. So a bit in love, calmness, joy. So basically, so 3 steps to get from the state you are in, and through an action, you get through a state of well-being, basically. And so this app took me some months to get done. I was really happy that I got it done. And then actually at the same time I was meeting this game creator. So I was at an event in Paris, a spiritual event, let's say, well-being and spiritual event. And there was this the divine meditation workshop that I attended, and that was amazing. I just it was, I think, one of my first powerful meditation experiences, where I was basically repeating to myself, "I am the source," and I don't know why I experienced some deep, powerful energies in my body. I remember that, and then there was one of the girl who was helping the one who the teacher of the meditation. She befriended me on Facebook, and then I didn't accept her as a friend on Facebook for a couple of months. And then in October 2017, I added her as a friend. And then a few days after, all of a sudden, got posted an announcement for a Paris world tour, where actually the Balasants were so the kids of who are at the Gurukul of Hindumisia were basically demonstrating the third eye powers and it was basically a crazy presentation of Hinduism in one day. And when I saw this announcement on Facebook, I was like, as I said earlier, I was like, I don't know why, but I will be there at this event this Sunday. And I didn't know why. It's like I had something within me that knew that I would be there. It's like I was called. And that's how actually that was my first encounter with His Divine Holiness. So on the 5th of November 2017, I will always remember this date because that was the first time, basically. Yeah. So basically, I would say in the short words. So basically, he called me, and I answered the call.
So what were you, Sri Prasha, what were you doing at that time? You were you were coding the spiritual video games?
Yeah, I was coding the spiritual video game mobile application, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So then you saw that there's Balasants from the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nityananda Paramashivam, from his Gurukul, Balasants who have been initiated into third eye powers and manifesting spiritual Shaktis, were coming to Paris. Is that where they were coming to?
Yeah, exactly, yes.
And okay, so it was an in-person thing? They were or an online program?
No, it was in person. It was a meeting in a big room where we were 600 people, actually.
Okay, so you saw that was going to happen, and so then you got yourself into being able to go there.
Exactly. I knew I would be there.
Okay. It just came up in an email or something, or what?
No, it was a Facebook post. So this girl had posted this Facebook post of this event. It was not even an ad, it was just a post. So actually, if I hadn't accepted her as a friend, I wouldn't have known about these events. That's why I was like, wow. That was really, I was really lucky actually when I think about it. If I hadn't met this girl and she hadn't added me as a friend and I hadn't accepted her, I maybe wouldn't have known about these events and maybe I wouldn't be the one I'm today. So it's crazy when you think about it. That just, and if I hadn't attended this workshop, if I hadn't decided to go to this event in Paris to meet the friends, that's crazy when you think about it. And I'm like, I was meant to meet him or to be at this event. So it's crazy. And it's like I was really lucky. I don't know how to say it with other words, but it's just luck, I'd say. Or if it's not luck, it's a call, and I'm happy I answered this call.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you go to the place. So you want to take us through that experience?
If I what?
You went to the event?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to take us through that experience?
Okay. So I'd say that the thing that I remember the most is the coconut. That's the experience with the Shaktis, with the third eye powers, with the coconut. We're putting the coconut on the hand. And basically with the third eye, and as we had just been initiated through the event, we were concentrating on the coconut, and then it was moving on the hand, and then it was falling, and I was like, "What is this?" And then actually, I was shaken because I didn't know what to believe anymore. I was like, "What?" I was shaken.
So
and then I was
right. So you're saying that you went to this event.
Yes.
So the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, he has he's manifested and has many initiatives around the world for many different purposes, and many temples to enrich and give the gifts of Sanatana Hindu Dharma to humanity. Part of that is the Gurukuls, the schools for creating enlightened leaders of the future. And so some of the Balasants, the child saints from the Nityananda Gurukul, had come to Paris to give demonstrations about manifesting these spiritual Shaktis, the third eye powers. And then now you're saying you were there, and so I believe what you're saying is that you, in that very moment, that hour or two, or the amount of time you were there, you got initiated into being able to manifest the spiritual third eye powers. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And great. And so one of the powers is the ability to manifest not mind over matter, but consciousness over matter. So even the Ishavasya Upanishad first line is Ishavasyam Idagum Sarvam. The first of the 108 Upanishads declares initially the consciousness pervades everything. And so our consciousness is the ultimate power. And so also the power to manifest objects, to move objects, to manifest the power of consciousness over matter. And so one of the demonstrations involves being able to also move coconuts, or even crack coconuts, or even heal cracked coconuts. And so you're saying that the experience you had was that you were holding a coconut in your hand and able to move it, or what was the experience that you had actually?
Actually, I did both. Actually, we were two. We were playing as two people, and so basically, I played with my third eye on the coconut and made it fall on the head of somebody, and then the other person used her own third eye on the coconut I was holding on my hand. So basically, we did both sides. So that's why we could experience if actually it was we could experience both sides, both as the manifester and both as the receiver, I'd say. And that's actually, when I just put myself back into that experience, I was like, I'm just again like shocked. Like I don't know what to think about it. I'm like, what is this? What is this? And yeah, and I really don't know what to think about it. I'm like, okay, what this? What for? What's okay? That's something I don't understand. I cannot explain. I'm like, okay, and
So that's great. So so which was, are you able to remember? Because it's also like yeah, when you manifest those Shaktis, like it's one thing to even see it on like TV or internet, and I've seen it thousands of times and even in person. But when it happens to you, like when you're the one who's doing the demo or who's receiving the demo, it just is, it's a magical thing. It just makes you, giggle with glee like a kid when it happens, even no matter how many times you've seen it. So do you remember which part it was? Was it when the coconut rolled off your hand or when it fell off the other person's? Do you remember the moment when you were, when your mind gets blown and you just like, do you remember that? Because
I would say when the coconut was on my hand and I could feel it was moving actually.
yeah, exactly. Same here. Yeah, exactly. And that was, yeah, exactly. For me, there was two parts for me. One was, yes, when I would just sit and I have the coconut there and I'd try to move it. And then at the point when I could feel it start moving, because there's a difference, right? You can put a coconut in your hand and it's just sitting there. But when it starts to move on its own, you feel that you can feel its momentum. Like a lot of times before it moves, you can feel it pushing.
Yeah.
Like, before it moves, it's going to move. You can feel it. So that to me was a big moment because I was wanting to move the coconut and I didn't, but then I started to feel it started to push and it started to get to the edge and then falls off. So that to me was like, did that just happen? And then the other part that was great for me, sorry, I'm sharing my stories, was the other person was holding the coconut and I was supposed to move it. And I didn't have the way that I manifest the Shaktis is I just basically I close my eyes and look at Swamiji to say it simply. I close my eyes and look intensely at Swamiji. And it generally ends up being in third eye. I just look, that's all I do. I don't think anything or say anything. That's what I've done. I just look at Swamiji. And what I noticed was the person would hold the thing and I could do chanting or whatever, and it may not happen. Then I would just close my eyes and I would look at Swamiji and I could feel the intense pull. Even feels like my eyeballs are being pulled in that direction. And when I got that feeling, the coconut would fall immediately. And that happened like 9 times in a row. Like I could control it. Like I could just sit and look at the coconut, nothing would happen. Then I would look intensely up in the third eye and immediately would fall. So it became this thing where it happened so many times in a row. And I knew I could feel when it was going to happen. When the intensity increased in me, that's when the coconut fell. So for me, that was like, wow, I'm really powerful. So that was my experience there. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I didn't realize that thing when you were saying that you were connecting through the third eye and realizing exactly when it was falling. Actually, I never understood exactly when the coconut was falling. I'm still at the experience when it's magic, actually. But I know that actually, eventually, I'm not the one who's doing it. It's like it's happening through me, and as I cognized through time that actually when we do the power manifestation, actually it's a completion, or actually it moves things in the matter for the people, for the person who's holding the coconut. And actually I realized that there's something happening. So I know that there's something completing while I'm doing the power, and sometimes it takes some time. So I'm just letting the experience be the way it is. That's it.
So when you had that, so what happened at that moment when you were manifesting the consciousness over matter, and the coconuts moved? What was, what was happening inside of you? What was going on for you?
Well, I can't explain what's happening, but I want to know more about it. Let's say, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so you had a partner and you did that. So then what happens from there?
Then I remember that actually I had arrived at the event like around noon, something like that. Then a biomanifestation happened in the afternoon. And then the event went until midnight, actually. And I stayed until midnight. Because it's like I wanted to, I was so mesmerized, let's say. I just wanted to stay. I just wanted to know everything. I wanted to see everything. And I was like, what? And I remember the second experience that I experienced with the Shaktis was actually when the Balasants scanned me. Because actually before they had presented the program, which is Mahasadashi, and they were telling us, yes, there's a program which will happen in December. So it was 5th of November. And then you can register and, or at least give your intention, give your, fill the form of intention that you want to come to this event. And then I filled the form of intention for this event without knowing what I was getting into. Actually, it's like I just feel it without knowing what I was doing. It was weird, actually, when I think about it. It's like I remember going to the table. It's like the moment between, I mean, it's like now I can see myself feeling the form, but it's like it's blurry, it's weird. It's like I went out of time or something. It's weird. It's weird. And then yes, the unit with the Shakti is when actually I feel the form of intention, and then actually we had some scan from a Balasant, from a saint child saint. And basically what she told me, she said, something like, when are you coming? Or something like that. It was like, it was so authoritative. It was like, I was feeling like I was naked. She was reading my me completely. It was like, what? It's like I couldn't hide anything. I was like, because she knew I had the amount of money to pay for the program. She knew it. And actually I could feel she knew. It was weird. I was feeling like completely naked. It was, and I was instead of shock somehow, because I was like, because actually what's funny when I just tell you the story is that, so I met Swamiji so this event I was 2013, and I was about almost 24. 2013, 23 years old, sorry, 23 years old. I was almost 24. and I had worked from 18 until 21 in a company, a big telecommunication company, as an apprentice in a company, and I had earned 30,000 euros. And I didn't know what to do with this money. And then when they announced this program, which was 12,000 euros, when I think about it, when I just heard the program amount, I was like, that's crazy. I would never come. It's crazy, this amount. And when she read me and she said, when are you paying, or something like, when are you coming? When are you paying? I don't remember. Like, when are you paying, or something like that. I think I could feel she knew I had the amount, and I was feeling like intruded. It was weird. And then I got called back by a causer at the end of the week, and she made me do the move to go to the bank and pay the amount. And I'm telling you, it was a crazy move, because and then after, for 1 month, I was in a state of doubt. I was like, what did I just do? I paid 12,000 euros for a program. What did I just do? Because actually, I was keeping this money. I didn't know what for. I just paid almost half of what I had earned in one day, what I had earned in several years. It's like, what? And then after, I went to India, and then everything changed. And yeah, so then we can keep this for next time. But
right, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to pause for today. There's 1 minute left. So I just to maintain some of the suspense for next time. So was it worth it?
No, it was worth it. It's just that I still feel that the amount was outstanding for. But actually, it's for what I've learned and what I experienced then after in India during this program of 3 weeks. I would say it's worth it, because actually now Bhagavan is not available anymore. And if I hadn't said yes at that time, I wouldn't have gone to India. I wouldn't have experienced all the things that I experienced back then there. And I wouldn't have experienced all these third-eye powers, these Shaktis. So yeah, I'm happy I said yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was my experience also. When I came back from India the first time for that similar program in 2010, I came back, and I was doing for a long walk because I had to pay back a loan I had taken to go. And I just asked myself, was it worth it? Was it really worth it? And it was about $8,000 at that time. And I said, well, would you have paid 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000? And I said, yes. I said 40,000. Yes. I mean, I had been searching for a long time for solutions at that time, also spiritually and otherwise. And okay, and I got up to like $500,000. I was like, yep, yeah. And I was just like, really? I was like, yeah, because I've done so many things. I've had so much money. I've done so much travel and done so many things, but I never had fulfillment, and I never knew where to get it. And I could never manifest it myself. And I couldn't fix myself. I couldn't fix my emotions. I couldn't settle my agitation. I couldn't fix my relationships. So no amount of money or chasing money was going to solve that. So I had this realization while I went on this long walk through the forest at that time, that even billions of dollars I wouldn't have traded. I mean, sure, there was amount of money that encouraged me that made me share with people why I was doing what I was doing. And it really enriched a lot of people to express how much I thought it was worth it. But it was a shock to me that I was like, no money in the world would I have traded for that experience and the ability to fix any problem in my life by myself anytime, no matter where I am. So that was one of the big clicks. And yeah, it's been 2 years now. since that program is happening, has happened, and now next month, February 19th, the first program coming up in 2 years is coming up. So anyone who's interested, you can go to paramashivoham.org. You can also go to youtube.com/lifeblissfoundation if you need to get more information. Facebook.com/Paramahamsa Nityananda, or you can message us directly also. So I'd like to thank you, Sri Nitya Preshananda. It's been a blast. We've had so much fun. We've had a lot of experiences together that we didn't even mention sharing today, but there's so much more. So I'd like to thank you for coming and thank you for sharing everything. And we've touched the tip of the iceberg, and we'll continue sharing in the next part as soon as we can. And thank you very much. And we'll complete today's session chanting Paramantra.
Thank you.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Bhagavat Sri Nityananda Parameshiva Parukar Purnamastu. Om Nityanandam.